Hello, it's Phillip Taylor from Richmond Green Chambers speaking. I'm looking at a book which I saw advertised at Lincoln's Inn in a nice big poster about Lord Sumner, who I, like many people, have probably read about but didn't really know very much about. I've produced a review of the book, which is on Flickr. This is the book here. It's quite a light one. It's called The Last Political Law Lord, Lord Sumner, 1859 to 1934, and it's written by Professor Antony Lentin, and it's published by an interesting publishers whom I haven't actually come across before, Cambridge Scholars Publishing. It's an interesting book. You can see from what you've got here that you've got some picture of the Law Lord in the front. Then you've got a huge amount of data all the way through the book, and in fact some very useful notes, a lot of bibliographical reference material, and it's certainly a book that I think many people who are interested in legal biographies will find helpful. I've given the title on the internet Summing Up Sumner, not particularly original perhaps, but it's because of the nature of this book that I think it's an important one for people to read. I started off by saying, taking a quote, "A legal and literary genius, such is the picture of Lord Sumner that emerges from this very scholarly as well as readable and thought-provoking biography." And by all accounts, John Andrew Hamilton, Lord Sumner, was a powerhouse of a man, one of those formidable figures that we have in law, who, in the words of Lord Bingham, who's given an introduction, forged the legal traditions which we have been privileged to inherit and enjoy. He's no longer widely known. This is often a controversial law lord who was in his lifetime legendary. By chance, as the author Antony Lentin points out, 2009 marks the 150th anniversary of Sumner's birth. It's also the 75th anniversary of his death, then centenary of his promotion to the bench, and the 80th anniversary of his last year on the bench, and surprisingly enough the 90th anniversary of his secondment to the Peace of Paris Conference of 1919. So there's a lot there. And it's in a move, in fact, with the book which describes an unparalleled period of history for a law lord. He was apparently accused by Keynes of being largely responsible for the heavy financial penalties exacted following the conference against a defeated Germany. Interesting point. Such controversy, as well as approval occasioned by his strong views and forceful utterances, was not untypical of his life. Few, however, questioned his standing. In 1934, the year of his death, one person, Sir Lewis Stewart, referred to him, quote, as one of the greatest lawyers who ever advised or argued, and one of the greatest judges who ever decided a cause. I think it's an important thing to remember within the history of the common law and its policies. Characterizing Lord Sumner as the last political law lord is apt. He defined the prevailing convention, which still prevails, that law lords should be seen and not heard on matters political, expressing his views with clarity and force on such sensitive issues as the general strike of 1926, the Irish settlement, and later the issue of Indian independence, which he didn't support. Committed as he was to the reform of the House of Lords, he would have been interested, I think, if not altogether approving, of the changes that have taken place within that august body in recent years, especially with the imminent establishment later this year, this is 2009, it'll be the autumn, probably the beginning of the law term, of a UK Supreme Court, shortly to supplant, of course, the Lords as the UK's highest court of appeal. Unquestionably, the last of a judicial type, to call him, as Professor Lentin asserts, Lord Sumner was certainly the overtly and unapologetically political law lord. So, for lawyers and non-lawyers alike, particularly academics, this is a beautifully written and rather fascinating account of a man who, despite his eventual fame, knew the bitter taste of early and protracted failure, initially at the bar and finally towards the end of his life, in his frustrated attempts to secure his heart's desire, the post of Lord Chancellor. I've got a quote here: "The greatest judge never to become Lord Chancellor." Well, we get plenty of descriptions of that nature for various high office holders, but it will nonetheless be remembered, thanks to this biography, that he was a towering judicial presence and an early and leading activist in the cause of Lord's reform, which we still haven't got, of course, in effect. So this biography by Cambridge Scholars Publishing is a welcome addition, in my view, to the Legal Biographies Library, of which I've reviewed quite a few titles in the last year. It's an extremely meticulous work which presents John Hamilton in a sympathetic light, which will delight historians, politicians and lawyers, as it sums him up brilliantly. Thank you very much, Tony Lentin. Bye-bye.